Hello, I'm Chris Ossman, and this is Solutions. Enough complaining, let's fix America. Today, I'm going to ask the question, where does your dollar stand? Do you have $1 billion that if it gets watered down by half, as the Treasury or as the Federal Reserve is doing right now, if your dollar gets watered down by half, do you have $1 billion to secure your future, where your $1 billion is not only worth $500 million, but if you still have $500 million, you can still afford everything? Or are you one of the unlucky ones who has money, but as the Federal Reserve prints money and gives it to the stock market to failing companies, are you one of those people whose money becomes worth less by the day, by the second? Because $1 trillion, as I've said in past videos, it would take 37,000 years to count to 1 trillion if you counted one per second. Say you count $1 per second, it would take 37,709.97 years to actually get to count to $1 trillion. Whereas the money that 44% of working Americans made, the $18,000, that would only take 5 hours to count to $1 trillion. So think about that. Why are they doing that? Why is the Federal Reserve continuing to give more money to billionaires? Since COVID-19 hit, billionaires have made $500 billion. How much did you make since COVID hit? And why is our government so readily giving money to the rich while ignoring the majority of this nation? There has to be some final resolution to this, and there has to be some plan, or they're just plain idiots. If you think about it, the majority of the people that are in Congress, or far too many, a plurality of people that are in Congress, are multimillionaires. The others owe a lot of debt to the tune of millions of dollars because they made bad investments, or they're not they're inept as being corrupt politicians. So if our government continues to give money to the wealthy, continues to give dollars to the wealthy, continues to allow the Federal Reserve to water down our money supply, what could be the final plan here? In my view, I think they have an exit strategy. They, they'll buy up a bunch of things, a bunch of tangible goods with their fiat money, which eventually will become worthless. But if you have a tangible good, say you have real estate, all right, you can sell that building for whatever the next currency happens to be, because all fiat currencies fail. The dollar is going to fail, especially when you keep adding trillions upon trillions upon trillions into the supply of money. Eventually, that money, you're going to have so much money in dollars that it will be worthless to everybody, including the rich. The rich, however, if they spend their money and buy all those things they need to survive, including stupid things like missile silos, decommissioned missile silos turned into condos, or if they buy passage on the Freedom Ship, which is a mile-long ship that some guy's building, that where you can land your airplane on top of the ship, and it will never have to dock, more or less. Or very rarely have to dock. If you buy passage on that ship, or if you buy a decommissioned missile silo, or if you buy one of these other bunkers, in your house or something like that, and the rich are also looking to secure themselves against the possible revolt of their own security forces. There's in a science magazine, it was in one of my previous videos, where these technologists, they get together at these conferences every year, and they're trying, the rich are asking them to try to figure out ways to put shock collars on some of their security guards, or to just simply have robotic security. And I know this may not be a popular sentiment now, but the police are also victims of the game that the super wealthy are playing, because the number one statistic for deaths by policemen, or death of policemen, is suicide. So that idea that, oh yeah, if I can only make it home, job one of the policeman is to make it home, even though that's a false narrative. When they say that, that's not necessarily true, because they go home and they're depressed about the things that they're forced to do. So a lot of these things we need to think about, and we need to consider why the rich are doing these things. I look at that movie 2012, where at the beginning you see all these billionaires being called and they're told, oh, we need another billion for this project. And you don't know what the project is, but spoiler alert, the project is a series of arcs that are being built to save all the super wealthy and, whoever they deem worthy of being saved, to save these people from an impending flood, like Noah's Ark, basically. So I don't know if the that's the intention of what the wealthy are doing. Obviously not if you're buying missile silos underground, but I do believe that they see the problems coming, and they realize that they're turning the entire planet into one giant ghetto. And as I've said, where will the rich go when they turn the entire planet into one giant ghetto? Well, they have their private islands, they have their missile silos, they have all these other things. Maybe there's some investments that we just don't know about, that they are buying up some all the islands around the world, and they're putting up mining the islands so that nobody can come near them eventually. A lot of people wouldn't realize this because not too far too people pay attention to what's really going on in the world. Some of the stuff that the rich are doing, you'd be really outraged at if you were to actually educate yourself to. So now, why we can look at like the Federal Reserve and what they're doing to the dollar. And this is why I believe the dollar is going to be worthless soon, because you can't continue to pump trillions of dollars into a system that is going to fail. It's going to fail. Eventually, they're all just basically playing with each other's money now, and they're trying to sucker small mom and pop investors into this game that they're playing. And it seems to be working, because now, like I said at the beginning, look at Hertz. Hertz is a company that declared bankruptcy, and now their stock value has gone up. I was listening to Max Kaiser, and he was talking about how people who use Robinhood have invested in Hertz, because Hertz, which should be delisted because it's a bankrupt company, is still being traded on their platform. And of course, it's going to go up, and all those people are going to lose their money, because the debtor of last resort are stockholders. So those people who are in the know about what's going on with stocks, the big whales, they have gotten their money out of Hertz. They divested from that company because they saw what was coming. And now all these other suckers have put their money into Hertz. And all that money is going to be used to pay back Hertz debt. And then eventually the stockholders get their money, but they'll get like 10 cents on the dollar for the stock that they had. So they're losing 90% of the value that they put into this company by buying the stock. And this is yet another indicator of how the Federal Reserve and our government, and they're allowing our economy to go awry. Now, I know that Wall Street is decoupled from the real economy. It actually is a leading indicator, so that when Wall Street goes up, supposedly the rest of the economy is going to go up. But how is that going to happen if you have the Wall Street extended and continue to soar based on a false premise, based on fake money? It's going to eventually come out that that's all fake money, and it's going to collapse. And then what will happen? The economy, which is already down, will sink further. So there is a problem in America, and the biggest problem in America, to me, the solution to this would have been to educate yourself and to find out what things you need to do to secure your future. And far too people did that. Everybody partied like it was 1999, and they continued to just buy and spend and go into debt. Now look at America from 1979. The the minimum wage was $5. Here we are in 2020, and it's like $8.25. I think in Florida, I don't know exactly what the minimum wage is nationally, but I think it's less than that. So we've gone up $3 since 1979. But the price of housing, the price of food, everything, all the costs of living have gone up, have skyrocketed compared to how much the minimum wage has gone up. People back in the 70s, they could live off of minimum wage. They could actually save off of minimum wage. They could go on vacation. Now you can't do anything with minimum wage but go further and further into debt. And that's how they subsidized the fact that minimum wage wasn't going up. If your minimum wage stays flat but your prices go up, that extra money has to come from somewhere. So what happens? Credit card companies start blowing up and everybody goes into debt, further and further into debt. People, we need to wake up. We need to get rid of this system. And there are alternative currencies and there are alternative economic systems. I've talked about them in the past. I'm not going to reiterate them now because people, they need to find these things out for themselves. And they can look at my previous videos and find these things out, or they can look it up themselves, because the whole intention of this video series is not to press the solutions that I offer, but to show that there are solutions out there. The intention of this video series is to show people that they need to do their own research. They need to find these things out for themselves, and they need to figure out what is a better path for themselves. And I think a consensus of this country already has an idea of what we need to do to fix America, but they've waited too long to wake up and to listen to anybody. And like I said, I might not have the right solution. I might not, but I'm offering solutions, and they can look at that and then do their own research and figure out what solutions work best for them and what solutions work best for their community and the country. But do something. Educate yourself, because in all honesty, I think the downfall of America is going to be based on ignorance. So join me again for another Solutions Enough Complaining, Let's Fix America, where we keep talking about topics that America faces and try to provide solutions for those issues and problems that America faces. Thank you. Bye.